Sasha Podolsky, Government Affairs Manager for the American Association of School Administrators (AASA), defends the argument of why schools should be allowed to restrain and seclude students. The United States has approximately 4.7 million school employees. In early 2012, AASA conducted a survey of schools across America. The results identified that schools use restraint and seclusion more than 5% of the school year. 97% of the staff who utilized restraints and seclusion were trained to perform safe and appropriate measures. 95% of those staff employees were trained in conflict de-escalation and prevention. 25% of the schools reported that 20 times in a year that staff members were either threatened or assaulted by students, and 30% of the schools reported that 5 staff members in a year were hospitalized from student unanticipated behavior outbursts. Federal legislation under consideration by the Senate will prohibit the use of seclusion and restraint for all students, with the exception of a student inflicting serious bodily injury to themselves or another student. However, the intent of restraint and/or seclusion is to prevent bodily harm to oneself or others. Without seclusion and restraint, faculty members will be injured more often by students. Testimonies from parents of students who have multiple behavior, cognitive, and sensory issues have written letters stating how restraint and seclusion allowed their child to attend and be successful in not only the public schools, but in a general education classroom setting. The parents have stated in their letters that the emotional outbursts were so severe that without restraints, the student would have had to attend residential schooling. This is a parent who is a special educator herself, who states how restraint and seclusion aided her daughter. This is not the only letter. Other parents from different parts of the country have written stating how seclusion aided their child in becoming productive citizens. Every organization would present arguments in favor of their cause. AASA does not believe that school employees are overusing restraint and seclusion, and schools are using it appropriately. Local and state governments are taking appropriate actions, and between 2010 and 2012, 7 additional states created legislation for the use of restriction and seclusion.